All right, let's just dive right into this explainer because honestly, the global football landscape is pure high stakes madness right now. If you've been refreshing your feed over the last few days, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been an absolute whirlwind. We're talking massive transfer deals colliding with international heartbreak, plus the whole tactical landscape of Europe's elite clubs shifting right under our feet. So let's cut through all that noise and break down exactly what's happening behind the headlines.
Here's today's roadmap. First, the global transfer hub. Second, Premier League power moves. Third, analyzing Liverpool's current squad. Fourth, continental club shifts. And finally, that World Cup semifinal drama. Starting with Section 1, the global transfer hub, and the rumor mill overdrive. Look at the sheer velocity of this current market. The whispers are flying at a frantic pace, and the super agents are working serious overtime. Based on the latest insider reports, we're seeing Manchester United actively circling paradigm-shifting talents. I mean, they are heavily eyeing Camavinga and QT Romero. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The Julian and Michael Elisa sagas, they're twisting and turning by the hour, major bids dropping, doors rapidly opening and then slamming shut. And right behind the curtain, super agent Jorge Mendes is actively pulling the strings across Europe. He's threatening to spark massive surprise moves for Barcola and Salemezi. It is literally a high-stakes chess match right now. And just to add to that absolute market chaos, boom, sudden shockwaves hit the news cycle. We're seeing blaring reports of Tuchel out right alongside a devastating 5-month injury alert. That kind of news completely disrupts immediate plans for the upcoming window, right? When a manager's status is suddenly thrown into total doubt and long-term injuries strike key players right before a Champions League push, clubs basically have to rip up their carefully laid blueprints. Cue the traditional panic buying phase, which of course just accelerates the madness. Let's move on to Section 2, Premier League power moves, turning those rumors into reality. Now, moving from the rumors to actual reality, that staggering €65 million figure, that is not speculation, folks. That is a 100% completed deal. Arsenal has decisively bypassed all the rumor mill nonsense and won the race for a huge new midfielder. It's a massive statement of intent from the Gunners. They're basically saying, yes, we will spend top dollar to solidify the center of the pitch. Tactically speaking, a totally dominant midfield is absolutely crucial if you want to outlast your rivals in a grueling domestic title race. But, not to be outdone by their title rivals down in London, Manchester City are officially on the offensive. With confirmation from highly reliable sources like David Ornstein, we know City is pushing aggressively to sign Bukayo Diaz. It just goes to prove this Premier League arms race is in full swing. Arsenal drops $65 million, and Manchester City immediately responds by locking onto their own targets to make sure their dominance isn't threatened. Over to Section 3, analyzing Liverpool's current squad and the two competing narratives surrounding them. So right now, literally nobody can seem to agree on what's actually happening with the squad building over at Anfield. Observers are totally split into two very distinct camps. On one side, you have analysts praising Liverpool's front office. They're saying, look, they're quietly constructing a budget-friendly future super team for under £20 million. They see a total masterclass in long-term planning. But on the other side of the aisle, critics are sounding a massive alarm. They're warning that a close look at Liverpool's current depth chart exposes a highly dangerous flaw, specifically a lack of robust cover in defensive midfield. That's the kind of thing that leads to severe burnout and could completely derail their immediate ambitions. It's that classic debate, right? Building for tomorrow versus winning today. And legendary voices like ESPN FC's Steve Nicol, yeah, he's absolutely not buying the long-term project. Acting as impartial observers to the punditry here, we're hearing fierce critiques from guys like Nicol who argue vehemently that the club requires immediate reinforcements across the entire pitch. He bluntly states Liverpool needs help everywhere. He is firmly in the camp that the dangerous problem on the depth chart is way more pressing than any future super team being built in the background. All right, Section 4, Continental Club shifts and Barcelona's next steps. Let's step away from England for a second and look at the broader continental shifts. The Catalan Giants have made a significant strike by officially securing Karim Adeyemi. Analysts are currently breaking down the specific tactical reasoning behind this. Bringing Adeyemi into the Barcelona system isn't just some random flashy purchase. It is a highly calculated effort to inject specific pace and directness into their attacking line, which fundamentally alters how they're going to transition the ball this season. But wow, they clearly aren't stopping without Adeyemi. The ambition in Barcelona right now is just staggering. Reports indicate they have their sights firmly set on absolute Tier 1 superstars as their next potential conquests. We are talking about Julian, Antonio Silva,
and, incredibly, even whispers surrounding Mo Salah. If Barcelona manages to land even one of these marquee targets, that heavily shifts the balance of power across the entire Champions League. Finally, Section 5, World Cup semi-final drama and the England versus Argentina fallouts. We arrive at the emotional climax of our explainer. We absolutely cannot talk about football this week without addressing the highly volatile, heavily debated reactions to the World Cup semifinal. 2-1, the scoreline that broke English hearts and sent South America into raptures. Argentina eliminated England with a tense, fiercely contested 2-1 victory. The emotional fallout across the footballing world has been just massive, and the post-mortem analysis of this single game is dominating literally every sports desk globally. Reviewing the media reactions objectively, the anger in the English press is palpable. Pundits like John Terry and Graham Souness are absolutely slamming the performance, and they're placing the blame squarely on the manager, saying Tuchel bottled it. Remember those Tuchel out headlines we talked about earlier? Well, this 2-1 loss is the exact catalyst for that. The tactical choices made on that touchline are being scrutinized to the absolute limit right now. And the tactical disagreements aren't just between the fans and the manager, they're everywhere in the press box too. This is perfectly encapsulated by Gary Neville and Roy Keane completely clashing in their post-match breakdowns. Neville and Keane fundamentally disagree on where the game was actually lost, which highlights just how chaotic and polarizing this 90-minute match truly was. You know, when two of the most prominent analysts can't even agree on the root cause of the failure, you just know it was a complex tactical disaster. But the drama spilled heavily onto the pitch too. It wasn't just tactical. Passions boiled over in a major way. We saw Jude Bellingham directly confronting Lionel Messi, and post-game, tensions were so high that Bellingham was actually seen slapping Barco. It was a fiercely emotional affair. In response to this behavior, footballing legends like Thierry Henry and Zlatan weighed in, claiming that England was ultimately punished on the scoreboard for showing disrespect to Messi and the Argentine squad. It adds this really intense psychological layer to what was already a monumental fixture. So, we've covered a staggering amount of ground today in this explainer, from the millions changing hands in London to the tactical debates over in Liverpool, all the way to the raw, unfiltered emotion of the World Cup stage. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this question to think about. Which of these structural shifts is truly going to have the biggest impact on the upcoming season? Is it Arsenal's €65 million power move? Is Liverpool's depth crisis going to be their ultimate undoing? Or will the managerial fallout from this World Cup semifinal completely reshape the game? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.